Why are people saying this school has litter boxes for furries? On January 21st, 2022, a news story broke out about students who are identifying as cats receiving litter boxes after schools. Of course, anyone with common sense would question whether it was true, and it turned out it wasn't. The principal of the school immediately put out a statement denying these claims and clearing up confusion around the situation. While it did help slightly, there's still a problem with this. One of the first things you need to know is the person who started this. On December 20th, 2021, in a school meeting, they expressed their concerns about students identifying as cats receiving litter boxes. They then went on to state that this is an agenda being pushed through schools and that it was a nationwide issue. This eventually got picked up by Michonne Maddox, co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party. On January 20th, they shared a video of the school meeting on Facebook with the caption, "Kids who identify as furries get a litter box in their school bathroom. Parent heels that take DACA scales." From there, Michael E. Sherrill, the superintendent of the school district, clarified that there's no truth whatsoever to this false statement / accusation. There have never lived litter boxes within MPS schools. Unfortunately, it didn't stop the story from spreading. A local news site named MLive.com wrote about the situation. They give a basic overview of what happened. Importantly though, they tell it as, no, litter boxes are not in Midland public schools for quote-unquote furry students, superintendent says. Despite dispelling the rumor, the story still spread throughout the internet, and even well-known news websites like the New York Times wrote about it. This isn't the first time that furries were brought up in such a situation. This misinformation has been a problem that many school districts have been facing, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. Back in August, there was a school in Kentucky where kids were acting and dressing like cats. This caught the attention of the concerned grandparent, where she tried to describe furries. They identify as animals. These people will hiss at you and scratch at you if they don't like something you're doing. She also describes the environment of the school, saying, "I was hearing rumblings of this last year, but it got really bad when they went back to school this year. I have 2 grandkids in school, and my grandkids didn't want to go to school anymore." The issue started to attract attention when pictures and videos were being shared on social media. A petition was started to stop the students from dressing up as animals, which garnered almost 1,000 signatures. However, the superintendent of the school stated that these costumes violate the dress code and that the petition wasn't needed. There are some problems with the validity of the story. First of all, there is no photo or video evidence of this happening on the internet, which is also the case for the school in Michigan. In a world where everyone has a camera in their pocket, it's simply hard to believe that there wouldn't be any evidence. Along with this, many of the people involved remain anonymous, from the petition being started by a user named NCHS student to the grandmother interviewed. There have been similar cases of misinformation in another school district in Idaho. In October, a local radio station published a story where they talked about students being excused from their homework as they were unable to write or type with paws and hooves. However, they updated the story as they talked to the superintendent, who clarified that none of the TFSD schools have experienced students coming to them with claims of identifying as animals, nor have any building administrators heard from teachers that students are being disrupted during class due to identifying as an animal. They added that anybody who identifies as an animal would still have to do homework. Another school in Iowa had a rumor of a student identifying as a cat having allowed for a litter box to be placed. School district denied that first, but then started appearing in more schools across states. Texas recently had another Republican candidate, Michelle Evans, who replied to a tweet about the Michigan case, stating, "Cafeteria tables are being lowered at certain Round Rock ISD middle and high schools to allow furries to more easily eat without utensils at their hands." This, of course, was debunked by the school's chief of public affairs and communications, who stated, "This is not happening. Our tails don't even have the option of lowering." Of course, the person who started it responded with no comment, stating that they're merely relaying information they have heard from another parent. Even Canadian schools have gotten subject to this misinformation. The director of the school district said in a Facebook post, "This claim, as well as many others, are simply false and causing unnecessary stress for students and staff." They noted that these rumors were transphobic and rooted in hate, which gets to the real problem with this. This trend is similar to the greater LGBTQ+ acceptance, specifically transgender acceptance in societies and schools, which, while a good thing, has its share of pushback. Across the world, but specifically in the United States, there's a growing amount of people who are unhappy with this change, who are trying to slow or even reverse it. Those who are trying to do this are almost always Republicans, which are socially conservative and have traditional ideals. This is one of the many attempts to discredit this movement, and it's easy to see why furries in particular are singled out. Furries have been the target of lies spread by news networks and TV shows, which have given furries a bad reputation. Despite the image of the fandom being improved in recent years, there are still some who are against it. You probably noticed the odd use of furry compared to what's being described. People believe they're an animal are called therians, which are completely different from furries. While many articles describe what furries are and try to note this difference, they'll likely confuse anyone who doesn't read past the headline. Along with this, many furries are also transgender. According to Furry Science, in 2018, they found that 12.2% of furries fall into the broad category of transgender, a number more than 20 times higher than typically observed in the general population. The number of people who identify as this group makes it a particularly easy target for those who are against transgender people. There's a theory going around that it's in the current political situation in the United States. It has to do with what the Republican Party's goals are. Remember the woman who was at the school meeting? You might notice the phrasing was a bit off, saying,
"There are kids that identify as a furry."
Along with this, she described a unisex bathroom, which is typically used by those who are transgender or non-binary. They're using furry as a way to attack the broader LGBTQ+ community. But there's another thing that makes it pretty obvious. It turns out they were also there to protest COVID-19 testing in schools, which is another issue that many Republicans are strongly against. In recent years, the party has been resorting to more extreme measures to push their message, with many of their extreme beliefs being silenced on large platforms like social media. They have gotten creative in spreading their message. Instead of the national level, they have resorted to the local level through places like school board meetings. This is a misinformation campaign that's being waged on people who don't like the change that's happening across the country. This isn't just a problem of misinformation. This is a problem about how people are purposely creating it. If we can criticize those who spread these false rumors and stop them from spreading, we should be able to solve the problems of furries continuing to get dragged through misinformation. If you want to see a teacher explain furries, check out how Professor Lando did that.